Jeff Circle told me just to hit it, which thankfully I
Bam.
knew he meant the record button because there's nothing else to strike in this room other than a plug for Diamonds in Denver. My latest book just came out. So, hey, people, check it out. Also, you have a fantastic display for Myopic Duplicity, an audiobook and book anthology of crime fiction. Jeff, tell the people what Myopic Duplicity is.
Oh, thanks, man. Myopic Duplicity is a crime thriller anthology that I was asked to edit by Leonardo Audio, as the publisher of this, and it was the only anthology I know about that was specifically designed to become an audiobook. And so we
Mhm.
have some of the fantastic audiobook narrators of today reading the stories from 16 stories in Myopic Duplicity, and the subtitle is "Did the means ever justify the ends?" Or is that the other way around? Ah, did the ends ever justify the means? So, I mean, seriously though, it's like bad stories. Do you
Mhm.
do the wrong thing for the right reasons? Find out in Myopic Duplicity. Available
This
now.
this book has a big 5 stars for me. I got the audiobook version and it is fantastic. And talking about crime fiction today, we are here to talk about one of the big boys. Like when we were talking about what Bogart film should we do, you had the brilliant idea of Maltese Falcon, and it's Noir November. So here we are to talk about. Question, is this the quintessential, like when people think of noir, this is the movie? Even if they haven't seen it, this is the movie, right?
I think so because when you think of the hard-boiled detective
Hmm.
and the PI and and the London fog trench coats and the hats and everything that went along with that 1940s era of hard-boiled noir, or at least what Hollywood and what writers have done with it ever since. Absolutely. Yeah, it's noir. I mean, there's the girl, there's the guy, there's the event, then what happens from there, and somebody gets hurt physically, somebody gets hurt emotionally, and there's not always a happy ending.
Hmm. So,
What can you say?
when was the first time you watched The Maltese Falcon?
Oh, years ago. I without saying my age, uh I probably saw the Maltese Falcon a couple decades ago, and here's the thing: I wasn't ready for it.
Mm,
I wasn't at that point where I could follow along
hmm.
because I think it stems from the Dashiell Hammett book from 1930 that they tried to make movies from, and the
Hmm.
first two didn't work out. This is actually the third attempt at making the Maltese Falcon from that novel, and because of the genius talent behind everyone that went into making this film, it ended up being the one that lasts today, and why we're watching it 85 years later, you know?
Okay, that's crazy. Like I do the barest minimum of research I possibly can for this show because that's the way we roll. But I opened the Wikipedia article and it's like,
Me
oh,
too.
remade from 1931. I'm like, what? It's a remake? And I didn't realize that there was a version before this that was pre-code. The
Incredible.
reason this film was made was because the code would not let them re-release in 1935 the 1931 movie. And I was like, oh. But then this movie has just, much like Casablanca, which is a film that was not meant to be anything, but had a great cast and great minds behind it. I'm aware the Maltese Falcon, Dashiell Hammett, and the Maltese Falcon was a premier piece of IP, even at the time.
Mhm.
But John Huston, this is the first movie. This is
Yes.
the first
Dave.
movie of John Huston, and he just immediately is on all cylinders.
Well, here's the thing. Maltese Falcon, done in 1941 at a budget of $375,000. Casablanca, made the next year, also by Warner Brothers, $850,000, so more than twice the budget. And it's so crazy to think that. And here's a little bit of trivia for you. And again, it's from Wikipedia. But so the Maltese Falcon, 15-inch in black enamel, Falcon. Long story, what it's all about. But an interesting fact is there were about a dozen, 12 to 15 of those made
Hmm.
as props throughout the movie. I think I don't know, 20 years ago, one was sold at auction for more than it cost to make the movie. It was sold for $395,000 as a prop. Someone bought it, and how cool is that?
That says so much about how the legacy of this film, because everything about it, it is another fact that I read in the article is that one of the cinematographers or lighting guys that helped, like, basically came up with this is the look of the movie. He worked on on Universal monster movies,
Okay, yep.
which makes a lot of sense when you're thinking of the way that again everything's just lit and shot in that stark black and white in the same way that a lot of those early Universal monster films are.
It's funny. Humphrey Bogart was the second choice too for this
Hmm.
this film, and John Huston won the directorship because he had done work with Jack Warner, and they said, "Hey, whatever you want, next movie's yours. You pick it, you go with it." And he chose Maltese Falcon for his first debut, his debut directorship. And they were just like, "Oh no, this is going to be a disaster." But it turned out being great. So, okay, Noir November, Suit Up Podcast. This is why you tune in. I have a question for you.
Yes.
So, in the movie, you got Sam Spade, the iconic hard-boiled,
Hmm.
PI detective, and Miles Archer. They're running this detective agency, and the whole thing starts off right at the beginning. The secretary walks in with the announcement, "There's some hot dame at the door for you."
Which is basically what she says. I'd let her in. She's a dish.
She's a dish. And but here's my question for you, Terrence. Mary Astor walks in.
Hmm.
Now, she was not the first choice either. And what was your impression of the casting for Mary Astor? Because they set her up as this
Hmm.
dish, and she walks in and she spills the story of what she has, the heartbreak story, and how can this guy help? What was your impression? And meanwhile, while you answer that, I'm going to break into this Glenn Goyne 15-year Scotch because just because. Go
Yes,
ahead.
I have questions about the Scotch too. Glenn Goyne is one of my favorites, by the way. The so my first thought was standards have changed in Hollywood. Not always for the best, not always for the worst, but the what like this is my main thought. She is not an unattractive person, but when I watch a movie and they describe that they're drop dead gorgeous, I expect far more like a supermodel, which just says so much about growing up in the 90s. But the it really is, and I was thinking the same thing even with Humphrey Bogart's casting. Like Bogart is not a conventionally attractive man.
And he's scrawny.
And he's scrawny. So like they would not today they would cast um a Glenn Powell, they would cast a Ryan Gosling, they cast a Chris Evans, someone who looks far more conventionally attractive in both roles, quite honestly. But I think that part of what makes this film feel more real is that they look like real people.
Normal people. Oh,
And
that's
and
interesting.
and that brings it more to that street level. This is a real story, or a story that you could at least believe to be real, which I think, my personal feeling, a good detective story, you should feel like either these are super arch versions of these characters, like in a whodunit that works really well, like Knives Out does that to perfection, or they feel like down to earth, these are people you could potentially meet, which I feel like all the characters in this film, in the Maltese Falcon, Mary Astor is a beautiful woman. I probably could meet someone that is like Mary Astor going to the grocery store.
She's working behind the deli counter.
Yeah, I mean, yes. What did you think? Like, what was your thought? Were you what because you've seen not to make you feel old, but you've seen the evolution of like casting in Hollywood and the types of stars that we had earlier to now.
Earlier. 80s. 80s. Okay, so here's the thing.
Arguably, the
Um,
80s is the transition point of when we start going from these are character actors and people that look like people to now we are literally skimming the 1% of genetics for
Yeah, yeah,
movies.
we go to the Brat Pack and everyone's gorgeous in the Brat Pack. Yeah, absolutely. No, see, so yesterday would have been Grace Kelly's 96th birthday.
Oh.
And so I just think, okay, we could have chosen from, Grace Kelly, Ingrid
Hmm.
Bergman, Lauren Bacall, all those. Uh, there's just a ton. And so you're right, though. You are right. It's about the story. It's about the realism. It's a black and white film.
Hmm.
The noir aspect and the feel for, yeah, these are real people trudging their way around San Francisco, and all of a sudden all the characters are put together in this story and they're trying to find their way. But yeah, I honestly, yeah, it's easier to watch Angelina Jolie walk in as a dish and lay out a story, and Humphrey Bogart, or in this case, Ryan Gosling, just go nah. So there is no Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Okay, we
Hmm.
can't watch those
Oh,
movies
it's
because they're
such a side note, when I had my wisdom teeth out, Mr. and Mrs. Smith was, I think, like $2 to buy on Fandango. And I was like, honey, let's watch this movie. It's a lot of fun. And I was just reminded,
I'm still hopped up on painkillers, whatever.
and basically, what a time to be alive when this movie came out. Like Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie in the same film, that like
In their prime,
in their
yeah.
prime. We talk about how the mummy cannot contain how great everyone is. No, no, no.
Yeah.
This movie too. But to that point, I think that that makes an interesting when a femme fatale is cast and literally they just ooze sex from the moment they walk through the door. Like that's what the writer puts it as. And that's what we're supposed to be so convinced that the detective is overwhelmingly in lust that he's not thinking straight. I think that might I'm trying to decide if this is actually a shortcoming of the film where I don't feel that level of Bogart really wants her so much as she's enigmatic. And it's
Yeah.
her being enigmatic that's more interesting for him to solve the puzzle. I don't feel the
Yes.
same, like, I feel more chemistry between Ingrid Bergman and Bogart, or To Have and Have Not has
Oh.
genuinely electric chemistry between Bacall and Bogart.
Yeah, chemistry, romance, everything. Yeah. All right. So, as your favorite Gunzel,
Hmm.
I have something else for you.
Oh.
Which Gunzel was a word I had to look
Hmm.
up because it was used in the Maltese Falcon to
Yes.
describe the little guy from New York who was Sidney Greenstreet's sidekick.
Can I just
Um,
quickly comment the scene where he tells him, I want to talk to your boss in the
yes.
hotel is
Mhm.
probably one of my favorite detective scenes ever because
Whoa.
you see him walk into the hotel and he knows he's being followed and he's like buzz off and he doesn't do it. So then he goes and gets the house detective
House
to
detective.
run him off. But again, so much of like the context of the era I don't think they say that the guy is the house detective. He
Yeah,
just
they
goes
don't
and
have
gets him
to.
and says,
You want?
"Get
Yeah,
rid
he
of him,"
knows.
because contextually at the time you have known this. Sorry, you were gonna say what Gunsel is.
Oh, Gunzel. So there's this great line where Humphrey Bogart, calls him a Gunzel. And I found out that it's hobo slang for young male companion or follower. And that's what this guy, he was basically muscle for Sidney Greenstreet. And that's what I want to talk about real quick is Sidney Greenstreet and Peter Lorre.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. So these guys, their
Perfect
sidekicks.
character actors.
Oh, perfect. It was Sidney Greenstreet's first film. I didn't know that either.
I didn't know that. Wow.
And so Sidney Greenstreet was in Casablanca, and he plays this wonderful, amazing character in Casablanca. And that's what I love about these movies. These
Mm-hmm.
films from the 40s, they just recycled actors because they were almost owned by whoever the
Chattel.
studio
Chattel.
chattel from the studio. Jack Warner, would you please let me go? No. So you're gonna make a movie and you got to be on set next week. And that's what they would do. They would shoot these movies as quick and as cheaply as possible. And like you said, Casablanca is just kind of a throwaway. Let's hope it works out. And so at half the price, we get Maltese Falcon, John Huston's debut, and Sidney Greenstreet's first role. And they had a hard time casting him because they said he was anywhere between 280 and 350 pounds. He just is a presence. And Peter Lorre kind of plays the same kind of dopey, dopey character as in Casablanca. But one of my favorite scenes is when he points a gun at Humphrey Bogart and
Yes.
says, "Here, put your hands behind you." And so Humphrey Bogart disarms him, ends up knocking him out, goes through all stuff, and then he wakes up and, like a gentleman, Humphrey Bogart at the end gives him his gun back to leave. And as soon as he does, he points the gun back at Bogey and says, "All right, put your hands behind you." He's such a dweeb, but a wonderful character actor. I was so glad to see him in that role.
He's just delightful whenever he's in stuff. And this is how well known Peter Lorre is. My wife has not watched that many movies. She grew up in a family that wasn't super movie going,
All right.
especially
I
older
understand.
films. Yes, but she's like, I know that guy. I'm like, of course you do. Like Peter Lorre has
He's
just transcended like of character actors. He is cast in this huge spot down to in Aladdin when the genie it does the I can't raise people back from the dead. He's doing a Peter Lorre impression. Like there's he is that iconic. And you get all of these different that's actually the thing I think that's you brought up Mary Astor's casting. She's like the only actor in this that I feel falls a little short. Just because you get Bogart, you get Pierre Lorre, you get Sidney Greenstreet. They
yeah.
are literally just three mountains of
Yes.
just charisma and they draw the attention so much. And that's hard because Mary Astor's character as this femme fatale who brings in the story, so much of this film hangs on her trying to convince Bogart to help her, which she does, and it's again good. It's just I think that that is probably the one part of the movie that if I am God and I can replace anything, I might switch with someone else.
No, you're right. No, yeah, Sidney
Mary
Greenstreet
Astor
is
fans, don't
irreplaceable.
at me on X.
That's Terrence Leahy with an A.
You'd
So
be surprised how many times I have to tell people that, though.
don't be upset.
Okay. The other thing I noted in watching this movie that I thought was fascinating because I just had this conversation. The third Mitch Mayhew is going to take place in San Francisco. And
Oh,
in
awesome.
talking about the different concepts for like covers, etc., we can't use the Golden Gate Bridge
Right.
because Golden Gate Bridge wasn't built then. In this movie,
It opens with the Golden Gate
it
Bridge.
opens in the Golden Gate Bridge, but I think it was built by 1941 is the thing.
Okay.
But it's just
Oh,
it's without that, I don't know it's San Francisco. Is just the weird thing because
yes,
San
they did.
Francisco is not a city with anything other than Golden Gate Bridge and streetcars. That's the only thing people know about it. And yet, I didn't remember the Maltese Falcon took place there because I just think it's New York, it's Chicago, it's the city.
Yeah, there was no Rice-A-Roni. There were no Lombard streets or anything like that. Uh, but I think it was important to show that it was a big city, and so
Hmm.
just seeing that does so much
Hmm.
without having to spend any more equity in the movie to
Hmm.
make the location a character.
Hmm. Yeah.
That it very well could have, and a lot of movies do it well, but this one didn't have to because it had Humphrey Bogart, Sidney Greenstreet, Peter Lorre, and a fantastic story based on
Hmm.
a Dashiell Hammett book and you would think that all those would come together to make a good film, and it did.
Hmm.
You
Well,
know?
and it took, as you said, multiple tries, though, is the thing that I just find fascinating because
Yes.
much like I feel this way with Reacher a little bit, I think that the Reacher TV show is the perfect adaptation so far because you get Alan Ritchson to really embody the character. Even though he's been adapted in the movies, you have Tom Cruise that but becomes another disposable action film instead of very iconically Reacher. I feel like the Maltese Falcon's kind of the same way. From what I read, the 31 film is far more jokey in tone and far more tongue in cheek,
Oh,
which I understand because again, movies in the 30s were kind of that way. I'm trying to remember The Thin Man
okay.
came out in 1934,
Ooh.
which was a couple years after. It is more tongue in cheek and has some more jokey moments, but also the book is a little bit more that way, so it makes sense. I haven't read The Maltese Falcon in a hot minute. I don't remember if it really has too much humor to it, other than a dry humor, which I think again
Right.
works well with Bogard. Because Bogard, like I said, I don't think that Bogard, if I had drinks with him, I'd be more worried about him hitting me by the end of the night rather than him being my wingman.
Well, here's a Bogart tie-in for you. The original Sabrina in
Hmm.
1954, what happened to star Humphrey Bogart, it was so different than the remake.
Yes.
And it's like what you said, like if the 31 version of Maltese Falcon was a little, punchy jokey, I think the original Sabrina kind of was too, a
Hmm.
little bit, even though it was Bogart. It, it it's funny. Remakes are funny that way.
I'll be honest, I can't bring myself to watch the original Sabrina because I am in so much love with the remake, which is not usually something that I'll say about movies.
Yeah,
But Harrison Ford
yeah,
as Linus Larrabee is just one of those transcendent acting pieces, for my
yeah.
preferences at least. I think that back to Maltese Falcon, it is a by the numbers what you expect hard-boiled novel. And
Yes.
that's why it literally defines the genre in so many different ways. My question to you, Jeff, is do you feel like Bogart's speech at the end, because dropping spoiler warning here, if you haven't seen a movie from
I was gonna say
1941,
spoiler.
you need to watch it. Um, at the end of the film, when he's like, I have to do what's right, and you can't let this go. And he's acting as if this is really hard for him. Do you think it was really that hard for him to let go of her?
Does this go back to her not being Grace Kelly or Ingrid Bergman?
Okay, true. Here's the thing, though. And when you said Ingrid Bergman, I feel like Ingrid Bergman could deliver much more of that vulnerability
Sure.
of, and the. I don't honestly think Ingrid Bergman could hurt anyone. Like, she is just perfect and she is
Yeah.
kind, but that's what makes that twist work so well, is if you really don't believe that they could be capable of that. Whereas, quite honestly, her name is O'Shaughnessy,
Yes, O'Shaughnessy.
which
Uh,
again, I just love these old names. Brigid O'Shaughnessy. Mary Astor's
yes.
character, there's a grit to her,
Yeah.
and she
Yeah.
seems like she could gun down a man without much remorse. Maybe a little, but not much.
But yeah, she was involved in this whole endeavor to obtain something illegally.
Okay,
So,
wait.
and no innocence there.
We haven't even talked about the Maltese Falcon itself as a concept. I love the fact that the Maltese Falcon, so at the beginning of the film, in probably the part that's dated it the most as a movie, it has the opening crawl where it tells you what the Maltese
Yes.
Falcon is,
Yeah.
which my
Like
brain,
1537,
yeah,
Malta puts it on a ship and takes it to this king of Spain, Charles V of Spain or something.
I understand why they did that. That's a way a lot of older movies start. I definitely prefer the I think Sydney Greenstreet does a great "This is what the Maltese Falcon is." His
Yes.
exposition there is perfect. That's the way that good
Oh,
exposition should be written. I was reminded again, this film has an amazing script, and
yes.
delivering information like that. If I didn't know what the Maltese Falcon was at the start, I actually would have enjoyed. I'm curious what the film would feel like, because you just know that there's something until
Yes.
he finally explains it. And I feel like in the book, that must be amazing. Again, I need to reread it. But having it at the beginning of the film, I feel like, again, just things that if they made it today, they wouldn't do. But I still enjoy, as a concept, the Maltese Falcon is this, it was gold. It has these gems on it. And then it's lacquered in, what's the stuff?
Black
Ceramic?
enamel.
Black enamel, which again just makes it look iconic, but also gives it like this interesting. The MacGuffin here, the Maltese Falcon, is actually like this has an Indiana Jones flavor. Like this is
Yes.
genuinely it. You
It's the
turn,
golden eagle.
yeah, you turn the film just a little bit, and this becomes an adventure film. And I mean, this is think about the time period. The book was originally serialized in the pulps. This was Dashiell Hammett taking a premise and a concept that you've seen in so many adventure pulps, and he throws it into this detective story.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that again so well. Like, I can't think of many hard-boiled detective noir stuff where the whole premise is I need this MacGuffin that is an ancient artifact that's literally an archaeological whatever.
Yeah, it's like Errol Flynn meets Hard-Boiled Detective. Yeah, it's like how do those go together? Yeah, it's like, but they do, and it works. And you're right. They, yeah, it's like the Mummy, but hard-boiled. How do you do that? But they did it, and they pulled it off. And you're right. That scene with Sidney Greenstreet where he explains what he's been doing for the past 17 years and then what he's been doing before that to
Hmm.
get, and then the history of it. That is the money scene where you're like, oh my God, that's why it
Hmm.
means so much to Sidney Greenstreet and why Humphrey Bogart should be so invested.
Hmm.
And the price keeps going up. I'll give you $2,000. I'll give you $10,000. I'll give you $250,000. How much? How much is much? You know, it just keeps on going. It's just
Apparently, Greenstreet's character is based on a real detective that his whole thing was trying to locate these stolen artifacts, which I find fascinating because we are 1941, World War II is happening. In like another generation, we have a whole thing about trying to find missing artifacts and Nazi loot. Like if this film was remade and set in the 1950s, 60s, it would have been something like that, where it was something that was stolen by the Nazis. I almost
yeah,
guarantee.
yeah. The train. We need to go. You need to get your Indiana Jones get up going on, and we need to
Hmm.
go to Heidelberg or somewhere and find that train. It's out there.
100% would have loved to see the whole concept of we need to go to Istanbul now and track down the
Yes.
Russian who has the thing. I'm like, there's this whole extra plot that just exists out there that fascinating. Jeff, you didn't answer my question. Do you feel like it is earned when Humphrey Bogart is sad about losing Mary Astor?
You want to think in that era of movies that it's going to have a happy ending and they're going to find a way to make it work. But in the end, she kind of goes from like a B level, yeah, I'd date her, to a C minus English teacher who, you know, with like a hose that are kind of like sagging and falling down and her heels are a little too old. Yeah, it's just like, and she mopes her way out of out of his apartment like that. It's like, wow, I didn't see that coming. And but it's him being true to the character. It's
Hmm.
him being true, or the writers being true to the whole noir theme of, you know what,
Hmm.
this might not have a happy ending. And that I remember that from the first time I saw that many years ago, I was like, wait, what? Where's the statue? Where are the jewels? Where are the rubies? Where are the diamonds? Where's the Winnebago? You know, and so I'm like, what's happening here? And I'm like, that's the movie. But then you think that's the point.
Hmm.
And I've heard a couple writers lately tell me that, you know what? That's sometimes just how it ends. Because when we wrote the short stories for the anthology, I was told over and over, sometimes short stories, that's just how they end. And
Hmm.
it's not off into the sunset. It's not, the mummy and they're going off on a camel, and then you see the little ding at the end because they got a
Hmm.
bag of gold, stuff in their little, sack that there's, hiding away. No. And here's your spoiler alert. There is no golden Maltese Falcon encrusted with jewels. The Sydney Greenstreet describes so beautifully. No, it goes back to home. It goes home to noir. It's like, you know what? You suck, you suck, you suck. And I've got my name, Sam Spade, on the door now. I got rid of the side piece because she's, and I'm gonna take the next case.
Hmm.
It's just tomorrow.
Hmm. There is
Amazing.
this delightful feeling of it's another day on the job that he
Yes.
has at the end of it, where for the average person, this is like your life could have changed in an instant. You've become fabulously wealthy. In his case, I think he was gonna make like $10,000. Another scene that I love is
But
when,
he takes, but he,
yeah, when Sidney Greenstreet's like, I must demand my money back, as we all must share in the pain. And Spade takes out the envelope and he takes one bill off and goes, "For my troubles, this should cover my expenses."
yes.
And he's like, "Well, that's fair. Goodbye." He's like,
I mean,
We're
such
gonna
gentlemen.
convince you to come to Istanbul with us."
Yes, we shall continue the hunt.
The uh, I'm looking forward to, so there's a book, Hard Case Crime has coming out, The Return of the Maltese Falcon by Max Allan Collins. I am in January 26th. I'm looking forward to reading it and then reading The Maltese Falcon and just trying to get my full periphery of this concept because again, this is like the noir. This is what all of those detectives that are not Sherlock Holmes or a tiny little Belgian man are all about. Okay, other thing, Ward Bond. Did you notice Ward Bond in this movie?
No.
So, Ward Bond is Detective Tom Paulus. Ward Bond is primarily known for being in a lot of John Wayne films, a lot of John Ford films. He was a big Western guy. Um,
Okay.
he he's the detective that's like, "Don't do it, Sam," a couple of different
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
He's like the one
It's
that tells him not to hit the other guy.
yeah, they have this history that you can tell, but they
Hmm.
don't have to go into it. Just how they interact, you know that they've worked together in the past. Yeah, it was he's a great character.
Great character actor. I feel like this is also the first version we really see on screen of that type of character who will then show up in every one of these types of stories until the end of time. The captain or the lieutenant who keeps getting every time the detective solves a case gets a promotion but still resents them, but at the end of the day they're actually pals.
Yes.
Which again, Ward
Yeah,
Bond is perfect to play that character in this movie.
no, I really liked him because it's having been a cop myself, I see him and it's like he's working with the detectives or with the PIs, and there's that relationship that has to occur. So if you're a cop like he was or a detective, you've got to have your sources, you got to have your people you can go to, just like Humphrey Bogart did at the hotel. He knew right where the hotel detective was. That's how things worked, and there's a network of things and you knew that they got along. And he kept trying to help Bogart and get him out of trouble because the lieutenant kept wanting to pin it on Bogart. And as the viewer, Bogart's not at fault. So yeah, he's this great in between guy. And yeah, it's just a great role, and the camaraderie that isn't overdone
Hmm.
in this, but is unspoken, and you see it and you respect it. It's like, oh, he's on Bogart's side.
What do you think of Miles Archer, the partner, his wife, that clearly
Ag-
poor
Again,
Bogart.
again, I'm like, Bogart, you're tasted women here. I mean, come on. I get Mary Astor walks into the room and she's got like six foxes around her neck and these furs. Blah, 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 blah. And
We
then,
knew
yeah,
that your sister's story was false, but you paid us enough that we didn't care.
so Miles Archer's, kind of a hag of a wife shows up all in black. And like, and, first thing to do is kiss him. Like, oh, Bogart, come on, what are you doing here? But again, it goes back to this isn't perfect beauty, and yeah,
Hmm.
it's not Angelina and Brad Pitt, hooking up. It's San Francisco, 1941. The streets are dirty.
Hmm.
Some people are poor. If you can get your hand on a Hyundai, you're set for a month.
Hmm.
But one of the things, I wanted to point out,
Hmm.
so in that office where they have that scene, and then she's there. Miles Archer's, spoiler alert, Miles Archer's dead. She shows up in all black and everything, and then you see, and this is John Huston,
Hmm.
the shadow
Yes.
of Samuel
Yes.
Spade, the
Oh.
cast across the
Oh.
glass onto the wall, and then there
Hmm.
there they are. And
Hmm.
it goes back to when he told his secretary
Secretary.
to He said, "Hey, have Miles Archer's name removed and put Sam Spade on there." And so that's us like this really clever movie making that shows we're going to pay attention to every detail and we hope you see it because we put
Hmm.
it in there and you see him and Miles Archer's wife, the widow, and Sam Spade's name on the door. And even though Sam Spade didn't have anything to do with Miles Archer being killed, they tried to pin it on him. It was just it's just wonderful things like that. That's classic movie making that if you pay attention, you enjoy the film even more.
I mean, it's so true. This film is on the cusp of modern filmmaking. And a large part of that is due to John Huston. And this is why most I looked at like the stats. John Huston is one of those directors that was like in the conversation for the most Oscar nominations, just because he's that good.
Who do we have now? Who's doing stuff like that? I don't know.
Probably the only person I can think of that, and I'm thinking of this more from, I think Denis Villeneuve potentially. And I say that more because he's a very visual filmmaker, more than he is necessarily, he has to be compared to someone that does good story. In this case, John Huston's good at doing story and the visuals.
Yeah.
But that would be my. The thing is, people don't
Mm.
make movies like this anymore. Like there aren't
Yeah.
film noirs being made. And genuine question,
Yeah.
I'm curious if this is like one of the first. Is this the movie where they came up with the term film noir?
Ooh,
Because
yeah. That's a good research project for somebody out there
yeah,
at Terrence Lehue.
at Terrence at T underscore Lehue on X if you're still using it. They wanted to make a sequel to this film. Apparently one was greenlit immediately. However, they couldn't get Hammett to write the script. They could not get Bogart and Houston wanted too much money.
Yeah, yeah. Guillermo del Toro might be something like
Oh, good
that.
point. Yeah, I
Yeah.
still need to see. People keep raving about his Frankenstein movie, and
Oh,
I
I haven't seen it. Yeah, but
I
I
just
got to
hear
see it.
good things.
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to be one of those just we remember him permanently filmmakers. Whereas I different topic for a different day. Back to the movie.
Yes.
What's your favorite part of the Maltese Falcon?
Oh,
Do you have a
favorite part of the Maltese
favorite
Falcon.
part, favorite scene?
Oh, holy. You know it. ugh. I liked when Bogart gave the Gunzel the slip,
Hmm.
and because that's just some
That's
really
really
good
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 detective work.
tradecraft. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good detective work there. They were able to, really show that he wasn't just, reading off a script. And, they put in tradecraft, and that was cool. And then when he came up behind him later, going down the hall and pulled his jacket down over him,
Hmm.
so his hands were in his pockets, that showed so many things. It showed that the kid wasn't prepared because he had his hands in his pockets. That's not how you do. You don't walk in front of the guy. That's not what you do. And then he was carrying his guns and his pistols in his pockets, and so Bogart just disarmed him immediately. I really enjoyed some of those trade crafty bits
Hmm.
that really showed maybe some authenticity and an
Hmm.
element of danger involved as well. But you cannot beat the scene, and you already stole it. It's probably the best scene in the movie. Sidney Greenstreet explains what the Maltese Falcon actually is. And the thing I loved about that scene, and then later, the next time Bogart's in his hotel room, uh, they learned, and they like, okay, this time we're gonna slip him a Mickey, because
Hmm.
he's not buying, he's not gonna play along, he's not gonna be our guy, and just the adaptation of how their approach progressed from time to time, and then all of a sudden you see Bogart kind of getting
Hmm.
woozy, and then he passes out, and it leaves you thinking, oh, go, whoa, what now? Gunzel's
Hmm.
got a couple guns on him, and Peter Lorre's already pointed a gun at him. So is Bogart going to take one in the back of the head? Obviously, no. But what could happen? Are they going to? Who knows? So just yeah. But Sidney Greenstreet nails it. Yep, no doubt.
I think that's my top. After that, I think the scene where they're all waiting for the secretary to deliver the package in the hotel room, just that small microcosm of everyone in the room would probably shoot one of the other if they thought they could get away with it type situation. And Mary Astor's character like leaves the room and you see everyone kind of like, is she going to do something? Do we need
Yeah,
to keep an eye on her? Just
because
that
they keep going to
moment
the
of
kitchen. Yeah.
tension. I really enjoyed that, just seeing all the character actors just act sitting there and trying to manipulate each other mentally when Sydney Greenstreet hides palms the extra thousand and he tries to convince Sam that she took it. Like again, it's just watching them all play mind games with each other was really slick.
No, that was a good acting scene. You're absolutely right. It was less about the story and more about dragging out the time that they had to wait. I'd say another good scene that I loved was Bogart's in his office
Hmm.
with I forget, and the harbor master comes with the
Yes.
package, and he just drops it, and then he's full of holes because someone shot him up,
Hmm.
but he got away and he made it. That's the first time you've been waiting this whole movie for this Falcon, and this is a real tease because they drag it out for so long. You don't know anything
Hmm.
except for like what you said at the very beginning with the scroll, and then Sidney Greenstreet gives a speech. But then now you actually, there it is. It's all wrapped and it's giant. I mean, it's bigger than a baby in his arms, and it falls to the ground. And you're like, oh, that's it. And that's a real pivotal point in the movie because now we have it, and that's
Hmm.
really special. There's
I
so many good things. Yeah.
There's a tactile feel to it that I think we don't appreciate. Gold is heavy. Gold is
It's
really heavy, and the bird is like
15 inches.
15 inches, and full of, in theory, solid gold, and then it's lead. The
Yes.
the weight and heft of that, yes, the weight and heft of that sucker makes again, just it's I'm really
Yeah.
curious to read the book again and see how much they
Yeah.
describe potentially the visceral feel of it. Jeff, if, God forbid, they were to remake the Maltese Falcon today, who would you
Yes.
cast as Sam Spade, and do you have a director you'd like to see direct it?
Oh, see, this is where my lack of preparation really fails the show and takes the Suit Up podcast from Joe Rogan level down to below the Dossier podcast. Because I don't think of these things. I don't think of these things. I watch a lot of stuff on TV. Dude, that's a great question. I wish I'd have prepared for it. Because I hate sequels
Hmm.
in 95% of the cases.
Hmm.
And not just sequels, but like remakes in this case, like
Hmm.
a remake. I don't like remakes. Because I'm like I think it's intellectually lazy.
It
But
is.
that's a whole nother story.
Well,
I
I
get it.
think just buying you some time, I think that part of what works really well with this concept, though, for these types of films is The Long Goodbye is an example of a film that the best, is it The Long Goodbye is a remake of The Big Sleep? Point being, Elliot
Right.
Gould has played Philip Marlowe. And
He's lived long enough to play all these.
I think that really he has done the fact that you were able to take that character and that story and set it in a different era with a different actor speaks to the transcendence of the story. And I think that there's a way at the Maltese Falcon. I would love to see if they were to do a remake, who could really play Sam Spade, but if it was set today, who could be like a Sam Spade of today to their version? Like, and to what it's worth, I know he's too old, but a 2000s Daniel Craig would have been really interesting seeing this role because I say that what I think of Daniel Craig and Humphrey Bogart is they're both men with interesting faces. They're not
Mhm.
conventionally attractive men, but they are attractive, and they both have this like rugged masculinity about them.
Yeah, you could go back 10 years to Billy Bob Thornton too.
Ooh,
He,
yes.
He would really nail it. But I'm gonna throw something out there for the kids who are watching, and I know you're out there. You're making comments on this. Um,
On their
Casey
TikToks.
on the TikToks. Yes. Oh yes, I got the TikToks right over here. Casey Affleck.
Ooh, yes.
Because people think of Casey Affleck as the goofy dude in Ocean's 11, playing goofy parts, but he did a movie called Manchester by the Sea,
Mm-hmm.
where I don't think there was one smile
Mm-hmm.
anywhere involved in the pre and post production of that film.
Mm-hmm.
And he can really bring a lot of weight. I think that'd be really interesting for the kids out there.
I'll add one extra there. I think it would be cool to see Casey Affleck and then Ben Affleck direct. Because Ben Affleck can direct crime really well.
Ben Affleck's a genius. Yeah.
And so between the two of them, it'd be interesting to see that kind of duo bring something like this to the screen. Hollywood, call us
Yes,
at
we
Jeff
can do your
Circle
casting.
Books.
There you go. There you go. We will take care of all your movie back end deals
Mhm.
and take care of yeah, casting, not a problem.
We are professionals. And as professionals, we have things to plug. Jeff Circle, thank you for joining me on this episode. I think one final question, because I realized this is a good question that I didn't ask. Is there anything you got in this rewatch that you haven't seen in other times watching this movie? What was your like big highlight, oh wow moment of watching it this time?
Yeah, see, the thing is, once you know how it ends and you can picture there with the little pocket knife him doing
Hmm.
this, and you think he's gonna like break down and go crazy and just like melt down. But then he laughs on his way out and and takes his $900 or $9,000. And you're like, okay, that was good because I thought he was gonna like have a heart attack. You're always expecting him to have a heart attack and just fall over. But um knowing how it ends changes your perspective on the second watch.
Hmm.
And so what I caught this time was the movie magic. Because if you're watching it for the first time, you're listening to the dialogue and you're trying to keep up. Because
Hmm.
the way Dashiell Hammett wrote the book and then the way John Huston wrote it, it was you have to pay attention. And the way they delivered their lines was is there a cue card right behind the subject next to the camera where I can read this because it's really technical and you have to listen. And there's no way I could watch this film at home with my wife. She's in Hawaii right now. I got to watch it by myself so I could fully dedicate my
Wait,
attention to it
you
instead of
were
having to explain every
interrupted and explaining the movie every time. It's so nice to know it's not just me.
what happened.
I love it
It's
when
not
it's
just
something
you.
she wanted to watch, and then she's asking me what the story is. I'm like, I wasn't paying attention. I didn't want to watch this.
No, because I'm watching so much, and so it's that moving magic. Like I said,
Hmm.
the shadowing and the lighting and the casting of his name on the wall from
Hmm.
from the glass where they had put his name on the
Okay,
door,
it
things like
occurred to
that.
me that is that moment, that image is what they've been chasing on a lot of like noir imagery ever since. Like it's shown up on so
Yeah.
many cue cards for like titles of episodes. It's shown up in spoofs. I think in an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, they spoof it. It's shown up in the book covers with the title of the book. It is one of those iconic things.
Yeah. And the other thing too, that I notice a lot of the things like you mentioned earlier when they're waiting in the apartment and everyone's just kind of doing their own acting. Mary Astor's laying there on the sofa smoking a cigarette, and Peter Lorre is asleep in a chair, all crunched up like a pretzel. And Sidney Greenstreet is sitting in this giant chair, which was there the whole time, made probably just for him. He's reading. Oh my
Hmm.
God, bless his heart. He's reading a book. Thank you. What movie have you seen in the last 25 years where one of the main characters in a pivotal scene is just reading a book? I mean, it's things
No.
like that you
Hmm.
really notice on the rewatch. So, folks out there, please watch. And Terrence gets all the royalties from your clicks on this. Please watch the Maltese Falcon. He will get the affiliate links from Amazon when you click. And thank you, Amazon. Somehow I logged into Amazon and I went to get the movie and it said, you have some kind of credit. I had no idea. So I watched the movie for free. I don't know
Awesome.
where it came from. Yeah, little
Those
treat.
promotional credits are awesome. The other day I
Yes.
rented a movie and it cost me less than it normally does. And it ended up costing me nothing because it went on my sister's credit card. So yay me.
See your sister's credit card in the show notes and charge it to the Underhills.
Jeff
But
Circle, it is always a pleasure to have you on the show. Where can people go to learn more about you, your work, the Dossier podcast, and myopic duplicity?
just go to the writersdossier.com or jeffcircle.com. It all goes to the same place. You can find out about my epic duplicity, the writer's dossier, all the interviews, and the podcast. And you can look up Terrence LaHue's unredacted, special, declassified dossier in there as well. So please do that, as well as Terrence LaHue on the Dossier podcast, where he talks about his latest Mitch Mayhew novel. There you go.
Awesome. We will link all of that in the show notes. Jeff, thanks again for coming on the show.
You're the man. Thanks. See ya. Bye, everybody.